Hey guys, welcome back to my devlog series. I haven't recorded some footage in quite a while and I have gotten a few things done, so I'm going to do my best to try and explain some of this stuff retroactively. But I realized that I believe these two planes were in my last video, but I forgot to explain them. So this one here is a take on cartoon water. I did follow a tutorial for this one. And this is kind of my modified version over here, just kind of dinking around with this one to try to produce lava. So one of the big changes I did end up making was I switched to Unity's lightweight render pipeline. This is the direction that Unity is going. Instead of having one built-in render pipeline, there's going to be a lightweight and a high definition. And as I am not a AAA studio, I don't need the high def render pipeline. I don't need super realistic graphics that are going to slow everything down. So this one is optimized for performance. So this was a good choice for me. It did break a few things initially, but I got it all fixed up. And one of the cool things about the lightweight render pipeline is I get a few new toys to play with. So as I explained, these two planes here, these are based off of shaders. They're not based on an animator or anything like that, and no code was needed to create these. And this is really cool because by upgrading to the lightweight render pipeline, I now have access to Unity's built-in shader graph, which looks like this here. So instead of having to code out shaders now you've got this nice node-based system, which is completely visual, which makes everything a lot easier to work with. Any values that you have over here that are exposed, they end up showing in the inspector in Unity over here, which makes it very easy to, be able to play around and change things however you want. My next order of business was just doing some code refactoring, which I'm not going to walk you through because that's boring. Little visual tweak I made was whenever you take damage, I just made the health bar shake a little bit, because why the heck not? So, next thing on the list was the actual healing spell itself. And I was trying to think of how this would work in combat. So you are not able to move while you're healing, and it's going to take about 2 seconds for you to gain a bump in your HP. It's not going to go up gradually. You're going to get a chunk at a time of health, but your mana will go down gradually. So if we take some damage here, we can heal up. So that's how that works. Honestly, that only took me like 20 minutes to code. The heal spell was nice and simple, but it took me several hours just to get the visual element down the way that I wanted it. It took me a good while to figure out how to get that right. And done. Okay, so the next thing on my list that I've been putting off since my very first YouTube video, I've been talking about it and I just keep putting it off, but it is actually implementing the spell system so that I can actually equip spells using the spell wheel that I've got set up here. So I've got enough spells to actually test this out to make sure that it's working now. So the first element to making this work is my spell inventory script, which is attached to my player here. So I've just got it pre-populated. It's just an array of your offensive spells and your defensive spells. They start up with 11 blanks for the offensive and 8 blanks for the defensive. So what's going to happen is these blocks here, they're obviously not going to stay as blocks. These are not pillars or whatever. These are just test game objects in my game right now that eventually might be a tome or a scroll or something. It's going to be some sort of item where you find a new spell in the game. These will be scattered throughout the world. Obviously right now I just want them all in one place. So these hold information about the spell. So when you walk into them, what's going to happen is you'll see now I've picked up those two, and now heal and dash has been added to our defense spell inventory. So that's the first step as to how this works. And if I pick up, I actually haven't made the first spell yet. So the second one, I've got that projectile spell, which you guys have already seen. And the next part, it was easy as anything, just making sure that whatever item I click within the spell wheel, that item now becomes enabled in the game world. So you can see right now I've got my heal game object spell here. It is inactive. Same with my dash spell. It's inactive. So I don't have any defensive spells activated right now. But if I click right here, my heal now becomes activated, which means I am now able to heal using the right mouse button. And if I switch it to the second one, I can no longer heal because that's disabled, but the dash is enabled. So now I can dash around the game world. The way that I handled this through code, and maybe there's a better way of doing this, I don't know, but I just made a very long switch statement where, you know, case 0 being if you click the first button, case 1 being if you click the second button, etc., then it literally just grabs the first or the second or the third item within that array and just activates it. So that's how that works. And the third part, which isn't quite finished yet, but I've got this equipped spells script here that's also attached to the character. This is going to keep track of what spell you currently have equipped and which spell you had equipped last. So you'll see here if I equip heal, that's going to go there. If I switch it to dash, dash is now my active spell. Heal was the last one that I had equipped, so it'll always remember the last one. And having the currently equipped spells accessible here will make it really easy to say, I might be adding a UI element down here or on the left or somewhere where you can just easily tell, you know, based on an icon or something like that, which spell you currently have equipped, because the player needs to have some sort of indication in terms of what spell they currently have equipped. And to have the last equipped spell list here, that might be useful if I decide to make like some sort of hotkey on the keyboard where you can easily swap between two spells, probably being the one you currently have equipped and the one you had equipped last. So for example, I could press the E key and just have these two switch. I haven't 100% decided if I'm going to do that yet, but just in case I do want it, the option is here for me and it would be very easy to implement that. Oh, and I do feel like I should state for the record, these icons here, as pretty as they are, I did not make them, and they really don't match the spells that I have in mind. These are just placeholders for now. I downloaded these off of the Unity Asset Store, and I will be making my own at some point. And got that done as well. So now, when I equip one of my spells, the icon gets placed over there. Equip the heal spell, icon's over there. Switch it to my dash spell, that gets put over there. I told you it wouldn't be pretty. There's no animations or anything like that. It just swaps out instantly, but I'll work on animations and everything like that later on. You know, getting this implemented with the icons was actually really, really easy, but I was trying to figure it out at like 12:30 in the morning yesterday, and just the solution was not coming to me. And as soon as I got out of bed this morning, I knew how to do it. So sometimes you just need to take a break. Also, just for the fun of it, I added a little bit of camera shake to the heel. I seem to be in love with the camera shake. I can't really help myself. So next, I gave myself a couple of days off because I think it's always important to take a break so that you can come back refreshed. And then on Friday, I decided to challenge myself to see if I could make a small game in one day. So I took a break from Untitled Spell Game, and I made this. This is just very, very basic stuff. Everything's primitive shapes, but you got a top-down shooter that's working pretty well. You got 3 different variants of enemies. The pink guys are fast and do the least damage. These red guys do the most damage. I don't want to get hit by him. Oh. And every enemy has a small chance of spawning a health potion, which is right here. Boom. So yeah, I've definitely gotten a lot better since I started working on Untitled Spell Game, because I don't think I could have made anything workable in 24 hours before. There is one game-breaking bug with this, though, and that's that the player sometimes falls through the floor when he gets surrounded by too many enemies. So yeah, you got your crummy little menu here. and just a little death screen that animates downward. And that's pretty much it. Alright, so back to the real game. So I'm working on a melee spell now. There's going to be a hammer that spawns out of the tip of the player's wand. So here is my model of the hammer, and I am aware that it looks like a megaphone. I initially had a much longer handle and a much smaller top of the hammer, but I wanted, because the hitbox is going to be for the top part of the hammer here, I wanted to make that nice and big. And bam. And 11 particle systems, 4 new animations, and several hundred lines of code later, we've got the hammer spell working as intended. And no offensive spell option is complete without a charged option. Bam. So yeah, obviously this is a melee attack, so you need to kind of get right up close and personal with the enemies if you want to hit them. That is one of the reasons why I wanted to make the top of the hammer so large, is just so that you've got a nice big area to actually hit the enemies with. I actually went a step further than that as well. The hitbox for the hammer, I was actually quite generous with it, so if any area of this box here hits the enemy, they will take damage. And I might adjust this because I don't want it to look too obvious that the player might be getting cheap hits, but I also want it to be generous with the hitbox so that you're not where it doesn't look like you should be hitting them, but you are not dealing damage, because that wouldn't be good. I went a step further with the charged hammer game object as well. You can see the hitbox for this one is much longer and it goes further down the handle. And that's just because basically I want anything that's pretty well within the swing radius here to be taking damage from it. So that's the reason why I did it like that. I don't want it to just be taking damage from this blue line that you see. Anything basically that is close to you will be taking damage. So that's working as I intended. If you're not familiar to scripting with Unity, the update function basically runs every single frame that your game is running. So everything in here runs every single frame of the game. And basically the logic in terms of how to handle whether you're doing a normal hammer attack or whether you're doing the charged hammer attack, that's all that logic is controlled in here. And I did it a little bit. I already did this with my projectile spell that was in one of my previous videos, but I set it up in a much smarter way this time. I think I'm controlling the state of the spell, where you're at in terms of how charged it is, with an enum here to help me easily keep track of how everything is going. And you can see all of the logic is just handled in these lines here. If you just do a single mouse click, then you're going to start the animation and start the coroutine for the hammer attack. If you're holding the mouse button down and you're not already currently charging, then start the charge hammer coroutine. And here's the logic for when the player releases the mouse button. If you release the mouse button and it's not fully charged, then you're just going to cancel the charge. Otherwise, you're going to do the charged attack. And comparing that to this crap in my update function from the shoot projectile spell, it goes all the way. Geez, it just keeps going. It goes all the way down to here. So I managed to really crunch it down this time and handle it in a smarter way. And eventually I would like to refactor this and make it a little bit more like this one, but that's not something that I feel is very urgent, so I'll do that later on down the road. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. This has definitely been a bit of a slow process, but I'm trying to do everything to the best of my ability, and a lot of it's a learning process for me. I encountered a whole lot of bugs this time as I was creating this hammer spell. You can see one there, like when I switch spells. he automatically shoots, which definitely should not be happening. So there's like on the same mouse click that I selected, that definitely shouldn't be happening. So there's some bugs that I need to work out. But yeah, I'm just going to keep on plowing ahead. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.